Oh, yes. Hello. It has been quite some time, everybody. Good to see you all. Or not. Can't really see anyone, actually. Just kind of looking at this comment thread. Yo, welcome to Cypher Sessions, um, aka the Chiller Telltale Hearts, aka uh, where we get high and talk about shit sometimes, aka um, the Hamilton debate is what's happening tonight. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's
Um,
real, huh? It's really happening.
it is really happening.
It, it
Um,
I think it's actually happening right now.
is
It's
it?
been. It's
Is it?
been. We're just going.
Amazing. Well, welcome to Cypher Sessions. Where what we do this evening, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, is we get some people together. We talk for a little bit, usually about stuff going on in the theater world, and every once in a while, if someone feels inspired to do so, they may jump in and spit a few bars for a second, and then we jump out of it, and then we talk again, and then we jump in out and in and out. It's kind of like double dutch. It's kind of great. But we've got some fantastic guests for
Oh
you
my God,
here
it's
today.
amazing who's here.
Yeah,
Woo!
it's quite incredible who's here. So, oh, by the way, shouts out to the Livestream Overlord Tasi Alabastro, aka
Tasi,
Panana,
Wizard of Taz.
aka the Wizard of Taz. Thank you so much for making all the shit happen behind the
Yes.
scenes.
Teaching
And
us.
I'm going to ask the wizard to reveal our guests right now. And there they are. Oh, I can't see one of them. I can't see one of them. Can't see. There. Oh.
There we are. There we are.
Thought you weren't gonna show, man. Please welcome Ryan Nicole.
What's up, y'all?
Welcome Dav Morales, aka
Dav.
Active Poet, aka Mr. Balls 2.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's our TV show.
aka Mr. Balls 2.
The Upper David.
Check out Lighthearted to find out what that's all about. And Lisa Marie Rollins is right there too.
Woo!
Oh, Jess.
Hello. And
We're
everyone's
so
got
happy to have you, Lisa.
What's up? How you guys doing? Thank you so much for having me.
yeah.
We're honored. We're honored.
So we were talking before we got on this thing as to like, how are we gonna structure this? How are we gonna do this debate? Will it be a Lincoln Douglas debate? Like, how will we have opening statements? And I think the best way to do it, just because I worked on this for the past couple days, to just introduce everything.
You're just going for it.
I'm just gonna go right
This is
in.
beautiful.
What?
I'm just gonna go for it.
World
Can
premiere.
you hear this? Can you hear this? Yo, listen. I invite you to take a shot. I invite you to take a shot. Yo, I don't mean to spark static, but this shit is problematic. I invite you to take a shot. It's getting harder to ignore. History is skewed in the direction of a power that just wants it viewed a certain way. It's on the air and it's in the news. It's in the books that you read in schools. They've been playing us for fools. So, who are the perpetrators? Who is this motley crew? Houghton, Mifflin, McGraw-Hill, to name a few. AP, history, fourscore, independency, white lies scribbled on the chalkboard. Oh, you want some more? Lynn Miranda says your legacy is worth fighting for. If that's true, then who is he beholden to? The people history erased or his Broadway crew? I need to spell it out. COLORIS. MN, you can guess the rest. His access to the lights of the Great White Way is the VIP ticket of the fair-skinned face. Awareness takes a minute, then the mask is raised, and a black and brown Broadway is the rarest case. In the room where it happens, the white walls loom. So why are we trying to break the door instead of breaking the room? Zoom, zoom, trauma flies over the heads, overseas of white faces who just want to be fed. The great dream of a world where they can't see race, so they don't have to save face for the space they take. And I invite you to take a shot. Yeah, I invite you to take a shot. And I don't mean to spark static, but this shit is problematic. I invite you to take a shot. This is the Hamilton debate, everybody.
Yeah.
Things that we love, things
All
that
right.
we hate.
Oh, snap.
How are we gonna imagine the future? What are we gonna do about this? What the hell is even going on with Disney buying it? What is happening?
It's Disney.
What is happening? We're gonna go. I think what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit, fade this out, and I'm gonna just kind of move over to just various people. I might just popcorn it out there and just kind of initial stray thoughts about just the whole thing. Anybody?
Oh, popcorn style.
Yeah, let's
Popcorn.
just do it popcorn.
Oh, well, I'll just say you blew us all away
Oh,
in this room where it happened.
oh.
Okay. No.
In this room where you're rapping.
Where you're rapping.
The room where it's rapping.
And it burned. It was a severe burn, man.
Oh.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that. But yeah, I've got more substantive thoughts. I'm just trying to pun it out one time. I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying to walk this fine line of keeping a career and being honest about my feelings. When this show first dropped, when it first came to the Bay Area, I auditioned. I too got a call back, and they were convincing me that they needed a female MC. They wanted a woman who could rap. So and sing. That was like the subtext. And made it to the callback after singing and rapping. I was convinced, like, yo, they want real MCs. I hadn't seen the show yet, and and got to the callback and heard all the singing on the keys, and I was like, oh, this is not. They don't need MCs. They don't need women MCs at all. And the fact that they kind of continue to call that rapping is a real point of frustration for me. That's just one of them. We'll just hold that there. I'll just put a pin in that one.
All right.
And I mean, I just have to echo your exact experience.
Yeah. Okay, come on.
I have to echo your exact experience and not just me, Rahman.
Oh, word.
Rahman Jamal,
who I saw at the callbacks, and we were both like, yo. And then I was like, what is my time slot? Oh, it's 10:34, so I have a time slot. Oh, okay. There's 20 other people at 10:34.
Whoa.
There was like 10 other people sitting right next to the door 8A where you could hear the singing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute, because I hadn't seen the show either.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Now, this is totally separate from my real issues with the show, but I just want to echo that my experience comes from an actual experience with Hamilton the musical. It's not like I'm just some person who I actually was there, and I beatboxed and rap, and I remember the reaction to my beatboxing and the rapping, and I too felt that maybe they actually want a real rapper, a real MC and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then I think something that's important to note is when it comes to casting that show, I feel like it became a recasting of the original cast. Meaning, if you didn't match not only the skill set, but the way they looked.
No doubt.
Rahman Jamal.
Yeah.
He was up for the Davi Diggs role, of course.
Of course.
And I was up for something, who knows, or maybe nothing. Because I don't fit none of those things. And also, I can't sing. So I was like, why am I here? But I was, fuck it. I'm like, I'm here, right? So I'm going to do my shit. I'm going to do my best. So to me, I guess what I'm trying to say is, here's another symptom, a symptom of the bigger structure, which is what Hamilton serves. I mean, I think that's what I want to really put out there is, who is the show for? I was Googling, I was looking at posts of the people that were praising Hamilton and who would click like and agree on those posts. I'm just going to tell you from my personal experience, only seeing a couple of these things, that most of the people were white. I don't know what that says or what that means, but I have an instinct about what that means. And so that's just been my experience in terms of the inner workings of that casting. Dav, you had an experience too, right?
Yeah, I auditioned for Hamilton, and I was stoked because, this is like one of the first times where hip hop and theater collabing on a major scale. And I heard the project. I hadn't seen it. And for me, luckily, I studied musical theater, so I always know, just in case at these big auditions, to bring your sheet music. And me being smart about it, I was like, I'm just gonna, because I had music ready. I was like, I got bars. I want to rap my own stuff. Like, I'm gonna show them. Like, I'm gonna take any role they give me. But then I was like, just in case, I'll bring other Lin-Manuel songs from In the Heights. And when I got there, what made me really sad and upset was seeing other town folks and rappers that I know that were rappers, like straight, like I've been at shows with them that have no experience in theaters. This was the first general callbacks, and they were right in front of me, and we were talking about stuff. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do stuff off my mixtape that I'm really proud of," and I saw their faces when they came out of the room where the keys were like, "What do you want me to play?" He's like, "No, I got my speaker for you, and I'm a rap," and like I could tell their faces coming out, like they weren't gonna get a call back because these rappers that they wanted singers that listen to rap music that can adapt that, which hurt my heart when I'm like, all right, well, I can't sing that well, like I mess around, but like I'm not a trained singer. I'm I train my voice. And that was the first bit of like disappointment of like, yeah, all right, well, that's false advertisement. I feel bad for everyone who didn't further their education in theater like I did. I'm just like, that's false advertisement. Just let people know if they have a real shot in this.
Right. And I hate to jump in again, but this is my crux of kind of my issues. What does that say when the structure, when the big machine comes, what was it? What was the casting company called?
Tesla and Company.
Yeah, it just what does it say when it feels like a false advertisement? I said this. It came at a time when we as brown folks and black folks were like, oh my God, could this be something that changes the ethos? Could this be something where I don't have to get in this play, but does that mean that there's going to be another like Hamilton or something else coming right away? Is this going to open the floodgates? Is this our time now? Is this it? And to have that be a false pretense, to have it known that Ramon and I knew that our roles were already cast, and we're auditioning for something that we kind of feel we're not really having a real opportunity for, that's actually worse than, for me personally, someone who's an actor who's been doing this, who's been in the Bay since 93, 92, 97. It's like, it feels like it was like this wool was pulled over my eyes, and I felt that doesn't feel right. So when the machine itself is using a false pretense, what else is not quite in line? What else? Because that's the beginning. That's where it starts, is the audition process. Is like, so if it's already being kind of falsified a little bit, what else in the mix is not being said?
Yeah. That pretense is already like, that's just the pretense of theater. Like I don't think it's necessarily special to this particular production. I think that people know what they want and what they want to see. And like, you can come in and show me what you got, but you may or may not be right for this role or not. And so, but there's also the question of, opening it up to all different kinds of people and whether or not that's actually what I'm looking for. So like, I hear you, and like theater is already set up that way to like, not actually be fully honest about, what it is that they're looking for all the time. So, yeah. I never saw the show. I also find it fascinating that Dan and Phil, had you seen the show in person?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saved up for half a year.
Uh-huh.
Ticket to New York to the OBC. Meet with David afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just find it fascinating that 4 out of the 6 of us never saw it, and until a certain point or whatever.
I saw it too.
Until a certain point.
Live. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
But part of that is, for me, is also about like the economic, like, I am a theater professional, and I don't have enough money to go see this thing that's supposed to be this like life-changing thing for artists of color in, and I can't even get a ticket, so my first experience of it was the Disney Channel. So, I'm still kind of, and so for those that watched me on Instagram, but I had my own, I did a whole thing where I watched it and drank vodka. So that was great. But so I was having like really honest responses to like what was happening. I've seen it twice since then. And, so I'm still processing how I feel about it, but I have things to say and all that. But one of my biggest things was like, I'm mad that I had to wait until this, moment of access that we're having in the theater world for me to be, because it got shut down in San Francisco is why I was able to see it. Right. And so that already
real talk. I guess that speaks to Carlos's point too of like who is it for, right? Like, and honestly, I wouldn't have seen it were David Diggs not the homie. Like, and I do want to say that much.
Right.
Like, David Diggs is the homie, and he was like, "Yo, I was in New York working." He was like, "Come to the show." And I stood and I watched the show. I didn't have, I mean, that was my access point. I haven't seen it since because I can't afford it.
And I think to the point of not seeing it, I thought to myself, well, I'm not watching it. So what are you going to add to the conversation? I said this before already. I said,
oh, you haven't seen it at all?
No, this is, I've heard the entire album. I've heard all the songs, which is pretty much the show. But visually, I've seen clips. I've seen a bunch of stuff. My thing is this. What do? I rap. What do? I act. What have I done? Hip hop theater for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't need to necessarily see the show to critique it on that level. I just need to know what I'm talking about. And I know what I'm talking about. Instinctually, my instincts also are married with my perspective, which is that I wonder why does, and I'm going to quote the incredible, this
I love it. Quote. He's got notes.
Her name is Lira Mentero. Okay.
Oh, the article writer.
Yes.
Yes.
And the question that I'm asking is simply, is this the history that we most want Black and brown youth to connect with? One in which Black lives clearly do not matter. And that's pretty much the crux of my beef with the show. So I think that's, I mean, if we can really understand that question, it begs for me, I keep asking, who is this show for? Why did you invite all of these people to audition? I love the opportunity. It's amazing. But I just think that I just want to step back a little bit and make sure that we're talking about not like grammatical structure, like dramatical structure, like dramaturgy, like I get it. The show's incredible as a work of art. I totally get that. It doesn't mean it's not problematic, and it doesn't mean that it can't be both, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Alicia? Good to see you.
Hey, y'all. Glad to be here.
Just want to say,
sorry I'm a little late.
Oh, good.
What's happening, Ponytail? Hi, Ponytail.
Oh, yeah.
I see it. It's cute up there.
Yes, it is.
Alicia, we're all kind of just having our opening statements, if you will.
Really.
I know I told you guys before, like, it's not going to be like a debate, but I wanted to like hear from everyone.
So our statements to the jury.
Can I just add, I just want to add one other thing about our conversation, like contextually, like I was reading I have a couple friends who are, like theater scholars, and they sent me articles from like 2016 talking this shit. You know what I mean? So like, they're like, you guys are late, in terms of like, like the colonial, analyzing the colonial framework and like giving us that great analysis. But so I just want to put that in context. Like, we know, but also like I had never even seen it until 4 days ago. So, and I hadn't read anything, and I deliberately didn't listen to the music because my little nephews were like, singing it in their recitals and doing whatever. And so I was like, oh, that's amazing. You know, so I was excited about the prospect of this thing that could have, you know, my nephews like looking up on screen and seeing themselves and like going back and, you know, so that excited me. I did have the same perspective that you did around Carlos, around like, I'm not interested in hearing bad rapping, and I'm not interested in like, you know, that was just like my prejudice of it, you know, like I don't, before I actually saw it and understood like the musicality of the thing, which is something, which I think is completely different. But, and I was also like, you know, motherfuckers been doing hip hop theater forever.
Yeah.
And now, so now all of a sudden it can, because it goes to Broadway, it's legible to an America that it wasn't legible to before. And so so those were my like my only two sort of like beefs before I went in, but I never read any of the critiques beforehand or anything. I was like, I'm gonna go in like a baby and like, you know, just try to, you know, and also like my joyful theater self of like, I like good shit. I want to see it. I want to, you know, enjoy, and I did enjoy it, and I had all of those things. So I want to be clear about that too. Like so I can share all that too. I did enjoy it. You know, there were moments where I was like, you know, and Christopher Jackson, like, woo. So, you know,
yeah. But to your point, Lisa, your number 2 point, why?
Yeah.
Why?
That was the question I wanted to kind of pose to everybody, which is, so hella people been trying to break in with hip hop. Well, maybe not even necessarily break in with hip hop theater. The point is, it's been going on forever. So what are the pathways that opened up that allowed this one to skyrocket?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is that Lin has a long career. He's a Broadway composer. This is what he does for a living, you know? And I think like, you know, this isn't the first play that he's written, that he's in the business. And so that's also part of this story here. And it's like how the business is the business and what happens as things become successful and become movements and how movements become co-opted. And that's like a whole conversation here. But yeah, I mean, that's the first part of that answer, right? And I think that as an artist, because I think it is so complex, there's so many ways in, there's so many ways you can look at it. And I think as an artist, you have to have a personal connection to the work that you do and the stories that you tell. They have to mean something to you in your world. And if they resonate with other people, they do. And you know, he is the perfect storm of like a father in politics who came to this country from a Caribbean island, and he just saw this book at the right moment in his life, and he saw himself in that story, you know. And so that's why, that's part of the why it's so mesmerizing, is that it's so personal to him. It's so clearly personal to him. So that's the power of art. And like you want to do work that means something to you so you can hopefully make sense of the world. This thing just blew up and became everything to everything. And I think that's the piece that we're wrestling with right now.
I just keep pushing on the why factor. He's quoted as saying he sees himself in Alexander Hamilton. He's quoted as saying
definitely
that he relates to him, that he wants to be like him. And I'm just saying, what is that? That idea that you pull your bootstraps up and you can be successful in this country is a false narrative.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think he connects to the writer part of it. I think that like we as artists, we connect to what we connect to, and we like pick and choose because they make meaning for us. And like, again, like I have this debate. I love this debate. And I think it's a very important debate to be having. And it's so incredibly complex. It really is incredibly complex.
Alicia?
Right.
Oh. I honestly have so many thoughts about the show. I saw it twice. I actually had a friend who was in one of the touring productions, and so I remember like him telling me what that experience was like. He and his girlfriend were both in the show together. She was playing Eliza, and he was the standby for Hamilton. And they got to go on as Eliza and Hamilton together at one point, and it was, you know, like following their journey through the show was beautiful. And I remember the first time I saw it, I wept solely because there were so many non-white bodies on stage just being incredible, you know? But the thing that really gets me is that it really kind of breaks my heart that there are so many actors of color who had to wait for this moment to get their big break. Like Leslie Odom Jr., for example, I followed his career for a while, and he's been hustling for hella days, and he had to play a slave owner to get his big break. And no Black man deserves that, you know? No human individual of an oppressed culture deserves to play a white slave-owning narrative. You know, like that feels disingenuous to me, and that really breaks my heart because I feel like there are more stories that we can tell. We don't just have to rehash white narratives because there is so much more. So like as I'm you know, in awe of the beauty of the performances in that show, I at the same time I wish that there had been something more given to a body of artists of color to perform.
Yes.
Dan, hit the thing.
There it is.
Nice subtle cue. I like that.
Dan, do it. Oh man.
No, that's real.
I wanna Dav, I know you said you were gonna like earlier. You were like, I'm gonna step back a little because it seems like it's like, but this is a room where we're all talking, and I know you had some things that you wanted to say, kind of about the impact.
Don't. Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of history with this conversation.
No.
All right,
I like it. You know, like what am I? And so you know, it's fucking complicated.
It's complicated, man.
Very complicated.
For me, my way of being an artist, I always think the best artists have gone through stuff, and I feel like all of us have been through a lot of stuff. And like me, the only reason I wanted to be an actor growing up was like I saw Will Smith on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I saw Kenan Nicole on all that because I thought acting was a white thing. You know, I saw Jim Carrey was like, I was like, I like that guy. I can never be him, but I like that guy. And then I see those two, and I'm like, oh snap, the game changed. How do I do that? I don't know how. And it took, I don't know why you guys can. When's the first time you guys saw yourself on stage? Like I don't know when that was for you guys.
I haven't yet.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm upset. This is the point that I didn't get to see Tony Stone because I know.
Yes.
I know. I was right across the street. I wanted to go there. Anyways, but for me, it took, you know, getting into drama and then going to New York with my advanced drama crew and going to see Wicked, and they had a Black Prince as in Wicked, and I was like, I could be a Black Prince. Like what so for me that was a fuel underneath me for years. Like that going into theater was my fuel of, yo, I can do this. So every time I was like stuck in the ensemble and I just took it as learning, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna learn. I'm gonna learn how to be in a musical. I'm gonna learn how to. I was an orderly in a play. It was an all-male play, and I was an orderly who had no lines that had to sit on stage the whole time and just walk people off because there was no Black role written. So my director was like, I don't know what to do with you. You're just gonna walk people in and out. So like I just took all that and I wore it, and it took college for me to discover the August Wilsons and like go to other theaters and be like, oh, they're doing West Valley. They were doing Little Shop of Horrors, and they had a Black Seymour. I was like, Seymour could be Black. I was like, and like reimagining for me was even hard. Like being a person of color, because I thought this was just the way it was. So for me, I think having this be there and all the kids that get to see it on the Ham for Ham days, like that didn't get access to theater, like even my friends don't go to see theater that are of color, Mexican, Black, everyone don't go to see theater unless I'm in it. And like that, it's already breaking that theater gap. And then seeing these kids who were like, maybe have an entryway into theater and hip hop, like once again, hip hop on a different level I didn't even see myself in until I started looking up the Talibs and the Commons and like the everyday rappers, and I'm like, all I saw was gangster growing up, so I was like, I didn't find my way in. if I would have had Hamilton at like a young age, maybe I would have I picked up the pen earlier, you know? I would have saw myself. So I'm standing on the side of representation. I feel like all adults going into Hamilton, as we've been force-fed the founding fathers in our history of like, if this is pre-Abraham Lincoln, we know slavery is going on. And when kids are like in tune with something as much as they are with Hamilton as being talked about, this is a gateway for them to be passionate about something that we can, you know, let them know what's really going on. And they should look at it just like a Disney movie and us retaking the stories. Kind of like us retaking the N-word. Like, they can't be a part of this. Like, in a way. I'm just like, yeah,
I can dig that. I can dig that. Representation does matter. Yeah. Can I jump in real quick, Phil?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. I opened up saying, kind of being jokey about this whole thing because it's such a tough subject. And like you all have said, there are so many entry points to the conversation. I'll say, for me, when I came to theater from a public policy law background. Like, that was my life prior to theater. And I went into public policy and law seeking justice, seeking to do, justice work. Found out really, and not really found out, but confirmed that what really impacts people more than anything, more than policy, because policy takes so long, is media and the stories we tell on the stage and the music that we hear and all the mantras we repeat, be it a commercial or a song. And when I entered theater, I entered it from that perspective and was promised from the theater space. And this is what you hear all the time around theater, that this is the place where all of our narratives are challenged, where justice exists, like where you can imagine the future you want to be in, you imagine the world you want to be in, and just all these like lofty goals and ideas. And I was like, oh my God, this is where I want to be. I don't have to fight people's ideas and the bedtime stories they've been told about what humanity is. They're imagining beyond what we actually are. And so, what I have found in theater though, is that for the most creative minds, it is a place rife with racialized tensions, rife with sexual, shortcomings and what have you. It's rife with all kinds of shortcomings that I can't get that word out of my mind. But
I mean, can we talk about the women, but not right now? Like,
yeah, but we can talk. Can we?
Lisa. That shit.
I mean,
yeah,
exactly. So I feel like this show, unfortunately, while it may have ascended to a level and raised the bar in a way that most shows have not, the fact that there are Black and brown people on stage, the fact that that's a novel idea is a huge fucking problem in the place where we're supposed to be imagining like our futures.
This.
So I still come to theater from a very novice place, from a place of real like public policy law. Like that's my bag. That's where I do most of my work. This is when I get to put on my cape and pretend. And I am very disappointed when the people who do public policy and sit at a table in chinos and Banana Republic all day can be more imaginative about our futures than the people who have been dreaming up beautiful scenarios all their lives.
Thanks, Ryan. I wanted to do just a quick, we'll jump back into it in just a second. I just want to do a couple quick shout outs to some of the people who've been following us on Twitch. Thank you at Daphne's mom for following us on Twitch. And thank you to I'll bring it up in just a second. Julie Hansen Piccolotti and Damian Brown for following us on Bay Area Theatre Cypher on Facebook. Oh, and Caitlin McGaw. Hello, Caitlin. Thank you so much. If you're enjoying this conversation, go ahead and mash that like button. Get at us on Twitch and on Facebook. We're at Bay Area Theatre Cypher on Twitch, and also Bay Area Theatre Cypher. Oh, and also Chris Loxon. Awesome. and Area Theatre Cypher on Facebook. Fantastic. I wanted to field some of these questions that we've been getting, or some comments and questions that we've been getting here in the chat.
And to be clear, I do want to crack back open the women topic.
Yes.
Sorry, not the women. Sorry, I don't know why I did that.
I want to crack. The. There's a lot of stuff in that. Okay. Shit, what are we opening up now?
We'll have that conversation with you specifically later, Carlos. So a couple questions. I have Overlord Gandalf on Twitch says, okay, let me just pull this up. Overlord Gandalf. He says
incredible name.
Yeah, an awesome name. The BIPOC folks who brought this to life are known in every corner of the earth now. How do we keep from harming them when they say that this is something they believe in and want their children to see? And he was referencing earlier when he said Leslie Odom Jr. had said something earlier about Leslie Odom Jr. said everybody touched this thing and prayed for it and gave it their best because we thought it was worthy. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Sorry, Dav, do you want to go?
People who are involved.
Ladies first.
I think there's a really important distinction in this conversation in what is the work of the artistic team and what is the work of the creative cast, right? I think, yes, I actually love that Leslie Odom Jr.'s comment about that. I read the whole article, that interview with him, and I thought he said some really beautiful things about making sure everyone gets a cut and making sure everyone, is aptly recognized for the time they put into that show. But I also think that it's not necessarily the work of the actor to fix what a playwright has chosen to do. It's our job to put those words on stage and to tell that story. And as actors, if you're put into a situation and you think, all right, I'm going to tell this story, and you do it to the best of your capabilities, I think that is something to be recognized and respected and praised. And like all of those actors really put their heart and soul up there. When you watch the video, they're freaking dripping. Like they're going 150% the whole time. And that's something that should be respected. And
to be fair, those coats are hot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a difference between criticizing the play and the content of the play than criticizing the people who brought it to life.
Totally.
So, look, Alicia, and so I'm so glad that you said this, because I've been thinking about, and we're going in right now. I've been thinking about slave play in relationship to this. And I've been thinking about, my reaction when I read that play, and also I've been thinking about Thomas and Sally. And
I knew it.
At Marin Theater Company. I'm sorry. I had it,
Come on, it was in your mouth.
Yes. And so Alicia, what I think you're pointing to is this idea of the development process and what is happening in the development process, where all of the yes people are like, yes, that sounds great. Yes, that sounds good. Yes, let's do that thing. And who are the people that are left out of that process? So when we think about slave play and there is a long sort of almost all of the Black women that I have spoken to about slave play are like, nah, slave play ends with like this Black woman getting like violated on stage. And so my experience of this play is about violence, and it's not about like the exploration of the potential of healing through like sexual play that is like set up at the beginning, right? And so but because this play is written by a queer Black man, all of the yes people are like, it's all good. It's a queer Black man. He's the one that's writing it. It should be all good. And so, and we're in these places like Yale or wherever we are that like doesn't necessarily, who are the other, who are the that you're bringing in the room, not just the producers and not just the other folks, the folks who are giving the money, or who the white people who want to see that sexual play or whatever. Like, so for me, I've been thinking a lot about Hamilton in relationship to that, because it really is about this me, believing in this narrative of America. And it really wants me to believe in that narrative of America. And so, and to ignore the fucking cotton fields that are covered with blood. So like, I'm so.
No, you're muted, but you're right. I mean, you spoke about this Thomas and Sally moment. And, for those of you who don't know, the actors who elected to not be a part of that process, and the actors who were then brought in that process, were pitted against each other and by the production, by the company, by the theater company, by the producer, so on and so forth. And I think it's so important, Lisa, that you make, and Alicia, that you make the distinction between the actors and the development process. The actors are the tip of the iceberg. The development process is long. Most people don't understand that about theater, that it is an 8 to 10 year process to get a show up on its feet. And that it goes through so many different co-signers and people who push it along before it hits the stage, certainly before it hits the television. And so it's not the onus of the actor necessarily to deal with that level of the development of the piece.
Speaking of the onus of the actor, Lauren Spencer is in the chat right now.
What's up, CS?
What's up, Albert?
Lauren says, don't we have a responsibility as actors in what we lend our bodies to? Through what we lend our bodies to and what stories we tell. Any thoughts on that? I think that, yes, absolutely. I think that might actually be in response to something someone said earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a yes, and I think it's a yes and, because I think it's also the thing of, if I don't do it, I already know damn well someone else is going to do it. And I also think about things that don't necessarily speak to me, although I'm not an actor, and so maybe I shouldn't answer.
I think
you're in it. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think what you're saying is totally speaks the truth, at least for me. Like, if I get an opportunity to do something, like I can't even imagine how I would have felt if they had been like, hey, we want you to be in this show, Hamilton, and it's this new thing, and it's a almost entirely BIPOC cast, and it's like, if they started telling me that, and they're like, well, we want you to be the person who holds the bullet, I would have been like, ah! And I would have freaked out and said yes, but I don't, we as actors don't necessarily know how a play's gonna age, or how society is gonna eventually just deem it to be, or am I making sense?
Totally.
Like, in the moment, we do have careers that we're trying to further as well. And if a piece speaks to us in the moment, then I don't think we can really, I don't think we can't always have the foresight to be like, this show is great, but in 5 years, how much is everyone gonna hate it?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that if someone believes in something when it's beginning, that's a leap that an actor has to be willing to take.
I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna try my best to back up. Tandy Newton has an interview in Vulture magazine right now, and she talks about her role in Crash, and how there's that part where she gets sexually assaulted by the police officer, right? When she read it, she did not think that was literal. She thought the wife was making a euphemistic statement to her husband about how the officer was handling her, but she did not think that was a literal moment, and didn't learn until the day before she was going on to act this scene out that it was intended to be literal. That the director asked her, did she have protective underwear on? So she was, so I think also the actor, in some levels, like, some things just read and like, this is foul and I know it, right? And some things are interpreted in a way that you may not fully grasp, but the director has the license to do with the show what he wants or she wants. so on and so forth, and how it is living on the page might not be how it actually lives on stage. And so, again, I think that just offers some compassion to the actor. But I agree with you, Lauren. Every actor has the right and the duty to decide how they're going to offer their body to the sponsorship of a narrative.
Totally.
And that movie Crash is its own mess.
It's a crash.
It is a crash and burn.
From the first moment.
Yes.
Conversation.
I wanna pivot back to our pin that we put in earlier, and I link it to a Twitch question that I see here from Same Bebe. Hello, Same. Hashtag Bars Crew.
Hashtag Bars.
Hashtag Bars Crew. San Francisco cohort. Bars.
Ryan's an OG.
Ryan, also part of the Bars cohort. Shouts out to that, coast to coast. Somebody says, could Hamilton be accepted as a piece of limited imagination? And I want to link that to the conversation about how women are represented in this show.
I was supposed to be stepping back.
I know. That's why when I heard you say that, I was like, oh, but we're about to get into a thing.
Yeah. Go, ladies.
Any thoughts? Anybody on it?
Where do you begin?
I think I commented on on that big thing that I put on Facebook because people were talking about this, and I was like, every single time they're like fighting over him, I was like, oh, this is what the opposite of the Bechdel test looks like. I was like, this is exactly it's like this is exactly the opposite of that, and it keeps happening.
So gross
throughout the show.
It's so gross. It reminds me of, you mentioned that point. You guys were talking about 51st dates when I came on to the call.
Why were we talking about that again?
I don't know. I just heard
51st dates.
Tasi was talking about Pigeon. Hawaiian Pigeon. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
But what I can't remember the guy's Adam Sandler always makes it so that he's like he's just the unattainable love interest of every show, and it's so unbelievable. And I felt that way when I was watching Hamilton.
Totally.
But that's not even like what I want to speak to. I'm going to speak to just being like an MC. And for this show, saying that this is a rap show, this is a hip hop show, and they've been touting that like to the nth. And for the women there's some fast singing in there. There is some fast singing. But there is no real bars and out the way that Lafayette gets to go in, the way that he and Hamilton get to go back and forth, like that infuriates me. They always exclude the women from the cipher. And, not my brothers here in this cipher, but they always, oh, why don't you sing the hook? You'd be better off the first time you see the girls, they sing a fucking Beyonce Destiny's Child tune, it's a lovely song. But again, when asked to audition for the show, every time I see the show advertised, every time somebody talks about it, they talk about it as a hip hop show. They talk about the women who rap. The sister, I can't remember her name, but they did the BET Cypher the year that the show blew up.
Renee
Goolsby. They did the BET Cypher, and God bless her, but she was struggling in the Cypher. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it was, and they did her a disservice by calling it a rap show, a rap play, and saying that she was an MC in that. She wasn't. She was a singer. So that's my about representation for women. I'll keep it there.
I remember.
I just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just that first song really gets me because we meet these women for the first time right after they're hit on by Aaron Burr on the streets of New York. He's essentially catcalling them, and that's when you first meet them. And then they go about, I mean, I get what Lynn was trying to do with Angelica being like, I'm gonna make Thomas Jefferson add us to the sequel, but he did it one time. It wasn't a through line. And then the entire rest of the show, those three women are either sleeping with, married to, or going after Hamilton, and that's it. And I know some people can argue like, well, Angelica does have some agency. She shows up and she's like, I'm not here for you. I'm here for my sister, and I'm picking my sister over you because you're a man and you suck. And you know, that Eliza has agency when she says, I'm taking myself out of the narrative, you're sleeping in the office, but it's still after a man has wronged them in the world of love. It's not their story as the women that they are in their own, you know, how they go about living in that world. And it's not until the end of the show that we mention, oh, by the way, Eliza lived way longer than Hamilton and did this, and this. But we were going to wait until the last 2 minutes to mention it. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I don't even have anything to add to that, really. Like, that's pretty much where I am. I'm like, can the women do something? You know, like, that was my biggest critique. I was like, oh, really? That's all we're doing is just, and definitely around sort of the egocentrism of the writer and like how I mean, he wrote that shit. So let's be clear about like what that was. It just really, that just gave you the opportunity to like make out with everybody on stage. Okay. You know, and so, which is fine and whatever, you know, but so my responses were also like, what can they do? Like those things that Eliza, they tell us at the end that Eliza has done, like those things could have showed up way earlier in the narrative of the play. They could have, there could have been like some sort of added line, you know, a narrative about like what women were doing at that time, like before, it's like pre-suffragettes. So like there's, you know, what are the ways that they have to figure out how to resist in that moment. But yeah, I was just not feeling it. I was irritated by all of it. And I was like, can somebody be a spy? Can somebody like pass some, you know, like letters and like go through, you know, like, you know, how, you know, sew some shit into their dress? Like, you know, what can we do? You know, so like, I can even think beyond like this, you know, small, limited representation of what I think womanhood was at that time. And so I was just, you know, clear, you know, and it's fine. So I was like, it's a guy's play. Like, so, and then you just have to let go. And so it's the same thing around like, if I want to just let go of, you know, the narrative of slavery that doesn't get talked about, sure, I can enjoy it, you know? So yeah.
Is there anything to us moving to this thing I mentioned at the very top, which is about who the show is for?
Yes.
And the reaction being from predominantly from who really likes, not just likes the show, but who like is oblivious to any of it being problematic. Like are there people that are like that? First of all, are there people out there who watch the show and don't think there's anything problematic? Is there something to the representation of watching people in those garments, the way that they're dressed? Is that why white people like I'm just a question. Is there something about seeing themselves on stage as heroes? Is there something to that, the idea that we put these people in positions of powerful roles, whether they're on the right side or bad side of history? You take all that away, and you, as a white person, go to this show and you see these these old way of dressing and this sort of the fancy set and everything, that the music, which has strings mixed in with it. It's not just like hip hop, right? It's musical. Is there something to all of that massaging this into the audience? Was that on purpose? I'm just asking these questions because who is the show for? Because here's my thing. I hate to be a party pooper, but you know who else might like Hamilton?
My 6-year-old.
Karen, Becky, Patty, and Amy Cooper.
Okay. But I think you're underestimating the way that white supremacy impacts people of color in a way to not let us have the tools to enter into these kind of spaces and be able to hold all the multiple layers and see like right through the shit. I think that many of us here in the room have like either like revolutionary backgrounds or skill, a toolkit for recognizing white supremacy, right? And so I don't think, when I think about, you know, my friends from high school and, you know, who have a different way of thinking about their relationship to the United States than I do, there's a popular cultural import of the piece that like I cannot not take seriously. Like I have to, I don't actually believe that it's only white people that like it, because that like makes it too easy to dismiss. And I liked it. So like, you know, I think that, but I can also hold like that the shit is fucked up, you know, at the same time. So like, but not everybody can. And so I'm sorry, is this a children's show? So I think you underestimate like who actually likes the show and who's coming to the show, because I think that Black and brown Asian folks are like going because they are seeing themselves on stage. Yeah.
Right. And there's a difference between liking a show and seeing yourself on stage. I'm just saying there's a complexity to it. It's not just about white people liking the show, but why? Why do they like the show?
I have to think that because it's about the founding fathers, it's more palatable.
Right.
You know, I can't imagine an old white man going to see a hip hop show that's not about a founding father, to be quite honest. And I think there is a measure of like, I'm in this revolutionary outfit, so all of a sudden these white audiences aren't going to be so uncomfortable with my brownness on stage, you know? Like I do think that plays a factor, but I don't know. I don't know how to answer the question of who is the play for. That's
if I could say something, Carlos, I'm gonna be honest. The first time I saw it and listened to it, I didn't even see a problem until I was like, yo, I'm being completely valid and honest, because I was just stoked. I was like, oh, we got someone from the Bay here. Oh, snap. I've never seen a black man in a coat like that. I was like, oh,
Prince has worn that coat.
I know.
1983.
I know. I'm just saying, like, not to shit on Prince. Okay, it's not a kid
I'm
show.
fucking with you. Get beats on like you're serious.
Hey.
But I'm just saying. For me, I didn't see it until I was like, man, how did Lynn get to point A to point B? And then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, this is pre-Lincoln. Oh, slavery. I was like, damn, they only touched on that in a couple parts. But I think reimagining and like stuff like that is a skill that most people have and don't have, you know? And I like to think about like shows like this, like what Alicia was talking about earlier. Like if I was offered Hamilton, hell yeah, I was gonna take it right away. Why? Because when I saw it in San Francisco, no offense to this actor, you're a great musical theater person, but the person I was going for, he came in with the $10 founding. I was like, oh hell no. First 10 seconds, I'm out of it. Come on, say that with your chest. At least watching the Disney version, you could see how proud Anthony Ramos, David Diggs, like they put themselves in that. I was like, oh, okay, little hip hop. I feel it. You know, that's like what I feel going into a Cypher. I'm like, thank you for at least representing that energy. Can I represent that to this? Who knows what audience is really gonna see? Can I at least the hip hop heart of this? Can I at least show like how a Cypher feels when we are all there? And I just want to like, I always like to think about, because I know in that article you shared, or no, maybe it was some other article I was debating on Facebook for a while, that somebody said Ice Cube like glorifying.
It was David E's.
I wasn't gonna drop names. Come on, Lisa. I was gonna.
Damn it!
Sorry. Like Ice Cube glorifying gangster rap or something like that. But I like to think he created some of the opportunities for like the Cat Williams, for the Chris Tuckers after that. And I like to question, yes, Leslie's, this was his big break, but he was also on Smash before that, and a lot of people were doing a lot of great things before that. Like David Diggs was doing a lot of great stuff in the Bay. Yes, this catapulted it, but like I also like to think, where would Blind Spotting be if it wasn't for that? You know, so it's like,
yeah,
you know, there's a lot, and this show is super problematic. Don't get me wrong. I see it, and it took, after watching the show and liking it, to be like, man, there's a lot freaking wrong in this. And I wonder if it could be like a Shakespeare. I don't participate in Shakespeare, but I love the fact that Shakespeare, I feel like, is the most reimagined of theater. I watch like all female versions of Hamlet. I see all black versions of Midsummer Night's Dream. Like I'm like, whoa, what the? I wonder if Hamilton could be that, where it's like, I'm just wondering.
I'm really glad you brought up Shakespeare. Because
listen, Carlos has notes, okay? He is ready.
because I just think it's interesting, this idea that we need to showcase these narratives in order to get any kind of recognition. It's not called the California Calderone Theater. It's not called the Oregon Calderone Festival. You revere it so much, you literally put it in your company name. Like that. I'm sorry. I don't hate Shakespeare. I think it's great work. I just question the same concept of, why do we have to only do stories for or about old white writers? There are so many other options, and why has this one stuck so hard? And you're not going to convince me that's because he wrote really good iambic pentameter. It's like, it's because of the structure. Lisa, to your point, when you were like, well, Carlos, that's just kind of theater too. But here's the thing. What is the root of theater? What is the root of the theatrical experience? And I'm going to argue that it comes from a white supremacist perspective, which means that as a tribal person, as someone who's indigenous, who has Mexicano background, we don't do things like that. We don't act like that. That's not who we are. We're not cutthroat like that. But somehow in the theater world and in the film world and in all these worlds that white America has built, it's always cutthroat. It's always, fuck you, you're not good enough, you don't belong in the play. So I just want to challenge that even that thought, even that way of being, comes from an old colonial way of taking things that don't belong to you. And so it's all married for me. So I'm trying to look at it. I try to go backwards, as far back as possible, to find out what are the roots of these things. And that's why I mentioned, if you're holding auditions and they're kind of a false pretense, what else has been in there that's not quite feeling like it's a fit that I want to be a part of? And that's the only reason why I've distanced myself from that show in those ways.
But I think that's what I love about what you're saying is, like, I think that's like the reckoning that's happening right now, right? I think that, with the collapse of theater and the collapse of, because, they ain't got no money right now. And so they're like, where can our money come from? And we can't pay our artists and, whatever. They're scrambling, but at the same time, Black and brown indigenous folks are like speaking up and being like, yeah, we've actually been the ones carrying you for these years and years and years. So we really need to, y'all need to like reevaluate your entire structures of institutions. So I think that's what's happening right now. Like, I think we're kind of blessed to be in this moment of a radical shift. My hope is that it actually continues. I feel like there's already a push to go back to auditioning folks and like, let's just continue on Zoom and let's do our thing and rah and like try to fundraise. Like, who's giving money to what right now? Y'all, we ain't gonna be back together until like fall of 2021 at the earliest, yo.
We're
like
giving money to Charmin at the moment. Charmin.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
yeah, and I'm not shitting on California Shakespeare Theater, Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I'm just calling out what is happening across the entire country, what's been happening forever, that's all.
I agree, Lisa Marie, with you. I think there is a reckoning happening in theater, and I feel like because it's happening now and Hamilton is kind of a recent phenomenon, that's what's being latched onto.
Sure.
but Shakespeare needs to be talked about too, and there are so many problematic plays that have been produced and written that need to be talked about, not just in your 1 week long drama lit session of problematic plays in college, but actually in a full conversation with professionals in the industry who work. And I think because of what's this kind of movement that's happening, people are daring to have the conversation. And by people, I mean the people who weren't having that conversation before, right? So the white people are now going, oh, shit, maybe we need to be having this conversation, because the Black and brown and indigenous bodies are speaking up and going, yo, we've been having this conversation and y'all haven't been listening to us. But it has to be a global feeling movement for everyone to get involved.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole thing is intentionally put in place, so it needs to be intentionally like taken apart. And so like this moment in time we have with this virus, these viruses coming to the light, we all know they've been around. We all know, just like hip hop theater, this story has been, falling on deaf ears for a minute. There was even a question earlier that Lauren posed in the chat about, Hamilton and the Tupac play opening on Broadway simultaneously. And that's the real question about, what are people doing to vote with the money? Where are people putting their money, right? Like, not just us, right? Because Hamilton is a phenomenon where I go to coach a baseball team and every kid in that dugout knows the lyrics to that song. And then I know Carlos and I tried to do like rap and, writing and performing rap for the stage classes at some big theater companies, thinking like folks would really be down because now Hamilton is the thing. But no, it's a musical theater piece, right? So we have this moment in time where the reckoning is happening. It's happening in our theater world. It's happening in entertainment in our country in general. It's been happening, but now it's really happening. And it's happening in the white communities that are willing to really fucking look at themselves. And this piece that came out in 2015 in a very different world than we live in right now is being re-examined, as all good art should be, through that lens. You can talk about the revolution will not be televised and not seem so radical because people are listening at this moment. 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when we went into some of these classrooms to try to teach that song as a moment, as a piece of art, but also a political movement and an idea that we needed to understand, it felt so outside of the box. So the world shifts, and art reflects and refracts in those shifts, right? And we have this beautiful moment to really challenge it.
It's true. It's so funny because that show came out when everybody was talking about how post-racial we were, and it became the emblem of like post-racial. It was like, oh my God, the whole world is in a Benetton ad. We're so happy. Everything's good. It's like, no, actually no. So I'm grateful for this moment as well. Yeah.
I guess I have hope, like Lisa has hope, but it's also daunted with a little bit of pessimism. Like I'm a little bit not sure.
Oh no, I don't trust these people. And no, let's be clear. So yeah, go ahead. I mean, these are things we've heard before. It's for like, sure. So let's be, there's a long history of, let's try to reconcile and give you what we think you need so you'll stop talking.
I think Lauren Spencer would agree. I think she commented on something. It was like, it was like, we've heard this before. We've had these type of demands before. This type of idea that a reckoning could be around the corner has felt somewhat like, maybe not exactly like this moment, but to be clear, this moment is only here because of Corona. I mean, I'm just going to say that.
For sure.
Like, there's no question. Everyone struggles to live paycheck to paycheck and just goes and goes, and everyone's broke and everyone's trying to put in there, and they don't think about these things, and police brutality and all these things happen every day, all the time. So I feel it. I'm guilty. Everyone's guilty. So, but I think maybe not everybody, but a lot of people. And so thank you. Sorry. But I think, just being honest, as we work in this field, I too wonder what's going to happen. Because you're right, Lisa. I'm positive there's pushback already where people are just like, oh yeah, okay, we'll just, what we'll do? We'll just cast more brown people, or like these band-aids. that don't deal with the structural, institutionalized, the base of where it all begins at, where you have to go back and realize, okay, who started your theater company? Do you guys know who were the founders of the California Shakespeare Theater Company? Who were the founders of the Oregon Shakespeare Festival? Who are the first people who created these theater companies? I'm going to take a guess that they weren't brown or black. I'm just going to take a guess. That's just my guess. I could be totally wrong. Somebody Google it. Anyway, my point is that instinctually you feel that shit when you go audition as a brown and black person. You feel that shit. I can't tell you how many times I walked into Aurora and have felt that shit. How many times I've walked into Cal Shakes when I first got here in 97. I got a call back in 97 or 98, and I walked in and I was like, ugh, get me the hell out of here. Like, you can feel it. So I don't think that's me being like paranoid or nothing. I think that's something we all have felt.
I think you're right.
To give a shout out to our people who are still hanging in there with us.
Yeah. I did want to shout out the people who have been chilling with us on Twitch and on Facebook Live. Thank you all so much. Shouts out to some people who've been following us on at Bay Area Theatre Cypher. Joko Motions, Nukvi Rect, thank you so much. Rob Bates, Jasmine Hudson.
Bates.
So very much for following us. We do Cypher sessions usually on Thursdays, and then hopefully we'll start picking up with Telltale Hearts again on Saturdays. But I wanted to jump in with a few more things from Twitch here. People are saying, what was that? What?
Beatbox break.
Oh, are we having a beatbox break? Why did you do this earlier when I was shouting people out? But yeah, usually what happens is usually what happens is someone freestyles at some point, but I think this important.
This ain't one of those kinds of nights, I don't think.
It's one of those kinds of nights.
No,
we're not freestyling? I thought we were freestyling this whole time.
I got bars.
Right.
I need to hear it. I'm here.
I was rapping. I'm rapping.
You're rapping. You said you weren't rapping.
I'm rapping right now.
We were rapping though.
Does anyone want to channel their thoughts into bars?
Yo, my name is T. I'm not an MC. I'm behind the screen. You don't see me. I said, ooh, wee. Okay, I'm gone.
Wow.
Bars. A bit of Taz.
Were you at the audition? Were you at the Hamilton auditions? I knew I saw you.
Someone on Twitch definitely came here to see Lisa Marie freestyle.
Oh yeah, couple people on the Facebook.
I'm sure of it.
What's up, man?
Oh man, what's up, man?
Oh, Superman. I couldn't tell if those were L's or I's. I didn't want to ruin.
Yeah, Min should be part of this conversation too because he writes musicals, so he has a perspective as well. Yeah. Y'all ain't gonna hear me. I was telling Carlos, he tried to challenge me earlier, and I was telling him I'm just gonna have to like assemble my brown sad girl poems, and like that'll be the only thing I got to show up with. But yeah, no. I can hum in the background and hold a tune. So, I'll be backup dancer.
No, I will not.
My choice.
I will not do to you what Lynn did to those women. I will not.
Right. She said by choice. By choice.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Right.
Oh, man. So, I did want to go back to some of these questions here on Twitch. A lot of people are talking. It's great. Yeah. I love this so very much.
I just wanted to beatbox so they knew that sometimes we do that too.
Sometimes we do that. Yeah. Sometimes we just talk though, and that's cool.
I said doo-doo.
And thank you, Tasi, for the freestyle.
Needed that intermission.
You're welcome.
We got someone. Somebody again was saying, like, thinking about the multi-year development process, how far behind we are at the level of those who gatekeep. What would have been possible given the constraints, if any? What issues arise that Manuel or others in the artistic team had to negotiate in order to get the white funding? I want to know the tea. the like what goes on like behind closed doors, I guess.
I mean, from what I've put together, you know, because again, like I, like Ryan, have the privilege of knowing David, you know, tangentially here in the Bay, following him on Facebook and watching the piece come together. You know, I mean, a lot of it was written on his own time. I mean, remember, these are folks who have careers. This isn't the first time they've done something. What's up, Onyx?
Hey. Hey, check it out. All right.
So, you know, I mean, I imagine some of it's written in like trailers and some of it's written because he's a celeb, you know, he's a Tony Award winner, you know, so before this, so he could call up the houses in upstate New York and they would say, sure, come write your musical, totally. You know, and then I don't know what the deal was, whether they partnered with the public or they rented the public, but I know it was a very strong choice to develop the piece on the East Coast, right? Again, this is a Broadway show. This is where it's going. So, and my feeling is like, it's only a show that can happen in New York in a for-profit structure, because any of the ladies I know in this call or in the Bay in those workshops would have asked the questions we're asking tonight. You know, that show would have never made it out of development in the way that it made it out of development. And that only worked. We live in a nonprofit world here. Anyways, so yeah, I think it's developed that way. And then, yeah, he starts getting invited places. And I think once he spits at the White House, game changer, you know, he gets invited to the poetry session at the White House. And that shit was impressive, man. That shit was impressive. I laughed too, but I also was like, damn, 16 bars. I think it was actually 32 bars. He keeps saying 16, but it's more. Depends how he counts them, right? But that's from what I know in terms of the development of the piece, right? But then all of a sudden it becomes a thing, right? When Paul McCartney's coming backstage at the public, it was clear pretty early on from who was coming backstage in the pictures I was seeing that the show was not ending at the public.
It was not ending at the public, and my thing is that it also doesn't end when people see the show. They stay stuck in this goo goo gaga kind of like I was waiting. Like I said, I thought after Hamilton we were gonna have more plays with rapping and beatboxing and in it. And I was like, Dan, yeah, we should do classes now because we do this shit. So let's teach these young folks who love Hamilton. Hey, there's gonna be more plays coming. And then I'm like, oh, but everybody's stuck looking at this star when they could be busy writing the next Hamilton. Yeah. So for me, it just got to that point where I was like, man, I cannot add to like when, you know, I'm the type of person, like if I pass an Instagram post and it's got like 500,000 likes, I'm not going to like it. Like you got enough likes. Like, why do I need to add one little like to it? So it's the same thing with Hamilton. I'm like, everybody loves it. I don't need to love it. It's fine. So for me, it's just like, but that gives me a perspective to look at it critically without being like stuck. Because I hear you, Dav. I feel you. Like seeing yourself, like seeing on stage an opportunity, that's very real experience. That's totally real and valid. But for me, since I didn't have that experience of sitting in there and actually watching that, I get to step back and just kind of look at it a little bit more from up here and just kind of go, what is this thing with Hamilton? So that's all.
I think it's also cool that you know, to put a rose you know, on these thorns. I think what Hamilton has done, and hopefully it will continue to kind of democratize this effort, but they've opened up other opportunities for rap to exist on Broadway. You know, let's just like be real. Like they went from doing this, you know, hyper produced show, the production team that did Hamilton, to doing a completely like black box style freestyle rap show. You know, Freestyle Love Supreme. And so, you know, what I think that does, at least is in my imagination, what it does is it kind of creates benchmarks for, you know, rap theater, and it allows like that open space for everything that can exist in between, something that's like stylized, super produced, so on and so forth, and something that is completely stripped down, not a costume, barely lighting, you know. And then hopefully now people can understand, people meaning producers, showrunners, folks who come to see the show, so on and so forth, can see what is possible with hip hop. Like you can You can rap about a topic that you never even expected to come and talk about, and you can rap about a topic that, you know, was never even palatable in class.
And I would say that would give me hope, except for that to remember that they're connected.
I know.
The Love Supreme folks and the Hamilton folks. And that speaks to the old thing of like, your friends, hey, come on in. That whole thing that I spoke to earlier, which is still a structural issue. I have a structural issue with that. Why didn't you look elsewhere? So many other places to go. Dan, tell me, in Freestyle Love Supreme, what is the ethnicity makeup?
It's pretty varied.
I'm just asking. Asking. Okay. Cool. Just asking.
I mean, as the white folks say, it's diverse.
Okay. Got
it. For white folks.
But,
it's yeah.
I mean, the specific, because, you know, like for me, like I'm a student of the whole game. Like I'll see it all. I need to see it. I need to understand what it is, so I understand what I am, you know. And so like I try to see as much as possible. And I saw the Freestyle Love Supreme on Broadway, and I really enjoyed that. Actually, it was a really good time. It was a fun night. There was walking into a theater and seeing stacks of speakers and good beats bumping out of those speakers. It was, you know, it was a great experience, you know. And the group is, there's a couple white dudes. There's, you know, there's an Indian dude. There's a black girl. You know, I mean, it's who the crew is. But like, again, like, you know, we all come from that backpacker space, right? We all come, and Ryan and I talked about this in our other project that we just did. Like, we come from I don't want to speak for you. I'll speak for myself. Like, I come from a space that's like, it is this multicultural, inclusive space that like skills and battle and liberation and lyrics and tough conversations and fucking around and joking and telling each other really what it is and falling in love with each other deeper because of that. Like, that's where we come from, right? We have years of that. So when I recognize that in other crews, I don't find that doesn't bother me, right? That I can find the joy in their joy and understand it as a learning experience for myself.
That's what's up.
Going off that, I probably am gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. Not with you guys, but some company in the Bay Area got rights to that show, Freestyle Love Supreme. Oh, you know this? All right, cool. I'm not. Ryan knows as well. And when I heard that, it was in a conversation. It was in a room where I was in, and it was whispered around me, and I was like, "Yo, what? Y'all said what?" And I was like, "Y'all know I rap, right? Like, I actually rap like this." And like in my head, I'm like, if this show is done, and it's either by the same group or they don't like go out that same call that they did in Hamilton in the beginning, like where the rappers at, like freestyle rappers. I'm not the best freestyle rapper, but damn, put me on the bench to at least go in some nights. At least let me be in the room to get better with like people in the town that are here. If you want to do it here, you better represent here. Like, please,
for real.
please. That's all I gotta say.
There's nothing to get you in trouble with that statement. That's real.
Yeah.
I just still wanted out the company.
Oh, word.
Oh, got you.
And I also want to think about a couple other, there's two playwrights I'm thinking of, Idris Goodwin and Terrence Chisholm, who are folks who have hip hop in their play, have lyrics, work with rappers, or are MCs themselves, and put that into their work. So I just wanted to shout both of them out as part of this, lineage of hip hop theater that is out there already and is a bit recognized. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the whole New York Hip Hop Theater Festival that kind of happened in the early part of the century, right? So I think part of the challenge that we're dealing with in terms of the broader business is that in some people's mind, like, hip hop theater came as a thing and it did its thing and now it's over. You know, if we're talking about things that are fads and trends, right? And we know that's not the case. We know the people we work with and the plays that we make and we want to see have these elements and have had these elements, you know? But I think that we have to continue to do this work, right? We have to continue to have conversations like this and build stuff and make the spaces really for the people to do the work. That's what this really, that's what the Theater Cypher really is about, is how can like we make a space where these stories that have to be told and have not yet been told can be told.
It's like it feels like the same thing, as a woman who is an MC, we have to contend with a problematic structure and industry as well. And every time a woman shows up, it's like, okay, that's it. That's the one. She's okay. She has it all. Please, everybody else go away. She's going to rap. She's going to dance. She's going to be naked. Like, she's going to be all the things. And the rest of you don't count. And, it feels very similar in this theater world. And what I feel like, and what I believe that we're contending with on all levels is this notion of exceptionalism that is imposed by a structure that has, supremacy as kind of its North Star, right?
Totally.
Like, we have to undo it all. Yesterday.
Yeah.
TikTok.
The time has arrived.
Time has arrived.
Speaking of the time arriving, it is now 10:30.
It is 10:30.
Which is 30 minutes way past the time that we said that we were going to be doing this. But, it was just popping off in Twitch. It's still popping off on Facebook. I'm so glad we stuck around and just had it out because everything is so complex right now. And we're allowed to that complexity.
Phil, can I say something?
Yeah.
You didn't say anything.
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah,
that's on the spot.
Way to keep your job, bro. Way to keep your job.
We see you, Phil. We see
you out.
Tasi, you too.
Tasi, what? Yeah.
Yeah, guys.
Tasi.
What the hell, Phil?
What is happening here?
It was going.
Does this look like a face that has something to say?
Yeah, 100%. Y'all got anything to say?
Just follow Phil's socials, and you'll see what Phil has to say about the topic in the extreme.
He just dropped conversations. He just came with bars, and he's like, "That's it."
I think
That's true.
I think I'm speaking with the fact that I'm using my internet to broadcast.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough.
The man with his hands.
Because I think it's important, and it's been grounding. You know what I mean? I just recently saw it too, just to be fair. So we're clear out there, and I think I'll echoing what Lisa said. I can hold both truths.
Yeah.
At least we're right. And some days it's heavier in one. It's like a seesaw in a not so fun playground.
Yeah, I mean, how can we expect to keep creating art if we don't look at what came first? Like. I loved Hamilton too. I definitely had the googly eye phase with it, and then like Dav was saying, I started being like, oh wait, hey, why do they do Mariah Reynolds like that? And then I started noticing all these things, but I still love it. I still love hearing the music. I mean, I'm teaching Hamilton camps right now, and I'm seeing all these kids who are like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I was like that, but it's possible to grow as an artist, and it's possible for you to grow as you recognize pieces of work. And if we want to keep making new stuff, we've got to say, okay, Hamilton achieved this, but what did it fall short on so that we can make that happen next?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all a learning curve.
It's the coolest thing, but it's not the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So that's all. Like, we just got to leave space for more.
Right.
We can make
something cooler is going to come along. Something better, I'm sure something's cooking right now in somebody's brain somewhere.
Oh yeah. Her name is Ryan Nicole.
Yeah.
So,
Phil, what do you got to say, bro? I'm not getting you off the hook. You can't come with bars and that's it.
How do you feel?
How do I feel? How about I'll see if I can end it with.
He's like verse 2.
You gonna rap about it?
A Phil style?
Yeah. Verse 2.
The debate's not new. It's worth saying that while we're spraying shit on social media, this Pete's been saying it for years and years. Mm-hmm. It's worth asking why we never heard them cry out until the Disney buyout. To be clear, I don't think the enemy is Lynn or any actor in a cast just trying to live. Some people have no choice but to find joy in the employ of a system that's designed to destroy them. They say the higher the climb, the harder the flight, and I say the darker the blinds, the brighter the light.
Well, damn.
Okay.
Here, here.
That was an alley-oop, huh, Phil?
Yes,
right.
he wrote me in the chat. He was like, "Yo, why don't you ask me if I got something to say?" No, I'm kidding.
No.
That was tight.
You gotta ask me at 10:33.
Numerology.
Yes, but I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, to Ryan Nicole, Lisa Marie Rollins, Alicia PM Nelson, Dav Morales, aka Mr. Balls 2, Tasi Alabastro, the Wizard of Taz, behind the scenes making shit happen on Twitch and on Facebook Live, Livestream Overlord, conspirators, Dan Wolf, and Carlos Aguirre, Wrath of God, aka Infinite. Thank you all who've been chilling with us this entire night, on the chats, on Twitch, on Facebook. If you haven't already, follow at Area Theatre Cypher on Twitch, follow at Area Theatre Cypher on Instagram, Facebook, all the medias. We're all out there. We're trying to cook up some cool shit for you guys.
Talk about the challenge.
Oh, yes. Coming up very soon, the 8 Bars for the Reckoning challenge. For those of you who tuned in to the TVA Awards and saw the premiere of our music video, 8 Bars for the Reckoning, a call to arms for a better new theater. And a indictment of a system that failed us. If you've got some rhymes in you about your experience in the theater, we'd love to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be dropping stuff on social media sometime soon. Hashtag 8 Bars for the Reckoning challenge. And we hope to see a lot of you come to the table, because we're going to try and set a really, really big table.
Yes. The 14th.
Only 8 bars.
That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
That concentrated mind, just got to say what you got to say. Yeah, the video, we're dropping it wide on the 14th. It's getting played on the 13th at the Aurora Gala, but the 14th it's wide, and we really want as many folks to join in with us as possible. So bring those bars.
Can I just say before we go that I appreciate everyone in this space right now, and I love painting my perspective larger than what I see, and hearing with different eyes, and I'm excited to create with all of you in the future, today, tomorrow, have created in the past, and we keep this peer of the people in the room that are gonna keep making our art better for everyone, for the kids of tomorrow, for their kids, for everyone, and dismantling the system that, as you said, Phil, is designed to destroy us.
Fuck the bullshit.
Thank you, Dav.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Wise words.
Thanks, y'all, for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for making this a safe space, y'all.
Yes,
A brave space.
Absolutely.
Do we get a beatbox out or a dance out or what?
Yeah, you get a dance out.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey. Thank you so much, everyone. Tasi, take us out.